So, lights, this is Dolores Cannon's book, Hidden Secrets, okay? And I'm going to play this. This is the machine people. And the machine people are the beings that are on the planet now using high military weapons or laser weapons because their existence is about up. And I think you should listen to this chapter. I had to find it because I couldn't remember where it was, but it's important that you listen to it if you know what I'm talking about. If not, just scroll.
Chapter 1: Isis and the Machine People.
I'm going to set it
In
down
my
right here.
books, Keepers of the Garden and The Custodians, the story was told of how the extraterrestrials developed life on Earth. It all took an inconceivable amount of time as life was established and began to flourish. After the animals developed, humans were created by manipulating the genes and DNA of the apes. As the species grew and began to develop intelligence, then the ETs came and lived among the savages to educate them and give them basic skills so they would be able to survive and eventually develop a civilization. The ETs lived among them for many, many years because they didn't die until they wanted to. Thus, these beings were treated as gods and goddesses, and these legends were born.
And I want to just say
Because
that we die when we want to, not when they want us to.
they knew they would eventually leave and return to their homes, they tried to pass the knowledge on to specific beings that they thought were capable of carrying it on. They also interbred with the natives to produce those who would have some of their abilities and be able to help the people after the originals left. The knowledge and abilities continued to be passed down over centuries through several generations of selected people. These were initiates. This was the beginning of the secret mystery schools, where some were chosen to learn and practice the various techniques. As time went on, they secluded themselves in temples and centers where they were isolated from the general populace. Because of their special talents, they were treated differently and set apart and above the others. They became priests and priestesses, specializing in various abilities. They were expected to also select others they could pass the knowledge on to, those whom they recognized as being able to understand it. Down through the countless centuries, this knowledge was protected and shared only with the chosen few. Wars have been fought and terrible injustices have been committed. For example, the Inquisition, in attempts to gain access to this knowledge. Those with the knowledge often died rather than let it fall into the wrong hands. The knowledge had to be safeguarded and protected. They knew that it must not die. Now it is no longer reserved strictly for oracles in temples, hermits in caves, or wise men cloistered in hidden schools. It is returning to our time and is now available for all to learn. This is because the veil is thinning. We are experiencing an awakening as we move into the new earth. Our vibrations and frequencies are being raised so we will be able to understand these ancient mysteries. They are being returned to our time and are available for anyone to use. However, the regressions reported in this book take us back to when much of this was unknown to the average person and available only to a select few. Originally, temples dating back to Babylon were designed with pillars, evenly spaced all around the outside. Some had the roof open to the sky. As long ago as 3000 BC, Babylon had a well-developed complex culture. These temples were intended as observatories. The priest would sit at a designated spot in the center of the building and observe and record the movement of the stars and planets as they passed between the open spaces of the pillars. These records would have been kept and observed for hundreds of years. Thus, a record of the movements could be accurately measured. These records would become part of the sacred knowledge, and only those of the secret mystery schools would have access and be able to interpret the meanings. This would have been the birth or the beginning of astrology and astronomy. Of course, the original teachings and what stars to observe would have come from the ETs. Much of the knowledge originally given would have meant observing planetary bodies that were invisible to the naked eye. Thus, they used highly advanced instruments such as telescopes, probably similar to the far-seeing devices used at Qumran. See my book, Jesus and the Essenes. Much of this information was essential to the ETs because it related to their home planet or constellation. They wanted to keep track of the movements so they would know the best times to journey there or communicate. So some of the astrological information would have been important for Earthlings to plot the passing of time and the seasons, and some was important for the ETs themselves. This pattern also continued with the building of stone circles and monoliths such as Stonehenge, New Grange, and many others throughout the world. They were a marker for the passing of the seasons and the positions of certain important stars and planets. Their courses were plotted in relation to the lintels and stones. This was a highly advanced science by the time of Atlantis. The knowledge was carried by the survivors to Egypt and other parts of the world. This is explored in my Convoluted Universe books. Why was the building of the temples and stone circles and the marking of the passing of the seasons so important? The monuments and the knowledge date back so far in time that primitive man was just beginning to master agriculture, planting, harvesting, and the caring of livestock. The traditional explanation is that these basic humans built these masterpieces. How is that possible when they were just beginning to move from savagery to the rudiments of civilization? We know that during these early times, ETs lived among the developing people and gave them information and gifts to help in their steps of evolution. Every civilization in the world has their legends of the culture bringers. These were stories of beings who came and lived among them and taught them the basic skills they would need to survive and progress. For instance, the American Indians had their corn women who taught them how and when to plant. Also, other beings came who taught them how to hunt and use fire. In every one of these worldwide legends, the culture bringer came from the sky or from across the sea. In Convoluted Universe, Book 1, there is the story of ETs who built machines that were able to harness the energy of the sun, moon, and stars. Because these beings could live as long as they wanted, they were treated as gods by the people. It was very important to be able to calculate time, especially the passing of the seasons, so the developing species would know when to plant and when to harvest. Thus, the importance of erecting the structures, to keep track of the seasons, and to train certain people to be able to interpret the information and give it to the people. Through the sessions I have conducted over so many years, I have found that the original structures were built by the ETs, not the primitive humans who were living there at the time. The knowledge of the use of the mind to create and levitate stone, etc., was perfected in some highly advanced civilizations, and was carried to Egypt and other places by survivors after the destruction of Atlantis. The ETs were still living among men and sharing advanced knowledge during the time of Atlantis. It began with the basic tracking of the seasons, then later developed into the more sophisticated system of astronomy. This was done so the ETs could keep track of their own home planet and its position. The structures could also be seen from space and served as markers for spaceships orbiting the planet so they could know where their brothers were located and working. Terry was a single woman who lived on her ranch in Texas and spent her time breeding and selling horses. She came to me to find the answers to personal problems. We never know what type of past life the SC will choose to show the client. The SC has its own special and unique logic, and I never know what it will choose or the connection it will have for the client's present life. When Terry came off the cloud, she was standing in a big temple with tall columns. She was watching a boat with a dragon's head on the front coming towards her. The boat, with about 20 people, was coming into a dock on a large river. She was observing a woman with long dark hair and a gold bracelet around her arm. She's very pretty. She has bangs. She has something on her head, too. Something gold. As she talked, she merged with the woman. I'm an acolyte. I study there. I hear the word Isis. The dictionary defines an acolyte as someone who is an attendant, presumably in some type of religious capacity. What are you studying? The stars and the planets. You said you think it has something to do with Isis? Yes. Who is Isis? She's the queen. That's who lives in this temple. Isis was a very popular goddess figure in ancient Egypt. According to the myth that surrounds her, she was the first daughter of Geb, god of the earth, and Nut, goddess of the sky. She married her brother Osiris and had the son Horus, who became pharaoh. This was probably the beginning of intermarriage to keep the line pure. In the myth, she had many magical powers and unusual abilities. The star Sirius is associated with Isis. The appearance of the star signified the advent of a new year, and Isis was considered the goddess of rebirth and reincarnation, and as a protector of the dead. She was the only goddess worshipped by all Egyptians. The ancient historian Plutarch described Isis as a goddess exceptionally wise and a lover of wisdom, to whom knowledge and understanding are in the highest degree appropriate. She was served by both priests and priestesses throughout the history of her cult, and many of these had a reputation for wisdom and healing, and were said to have other special powers, including dream interpretation and the ability to control the weather. The cult of Isis and Osiris continued up until the 6th century CE, when Justinian enforced the Theodosian decree that ordered all pagan temples to be destroyed. Many beliefs and rituals in the Isis cult were incorporated into the emerging Christian religion. This story seems to have taken place during the time that ISIS was alive, before it became a cult. I wanted to be sure we were talking about a real person and not a statue in a temple. Is she a real person? Yes. I was thinking of gods and goddesses with statues. No, she's real. Many people study with her. Are they all studying the same thing? No, we each have different jobs. Some people don't get to study the books and the scrolls. They're still too angry. Why are they angry? They don't want to be there. They want to go home. Isn't this home? No, we come from all over to be with her. From all over the earth, you mean? No, they come from the skies. They're from neighboring galaxies or neighboring stars. And women aren't anything where they come from. They don't like being here because of that. They don't want to study with her. Apparently, they didn't like studying under a woman if women were not respected where they came from. Can't they go home if they're not happy there? No, they have to stay a certain length of time. It's so different on their world. Where they come from, it is very dark and has a lot of machinery. This place is very green, very fertile, very pretty, very warm. They've been ordered to stay here to bring back information. Do these people look like the rest of you? No, they wear some type of spiky coverings on their hands, and they wear masks. You can't see their face. Oh? I wonder why they wear masks. To hide the machinery. They are not very pretty people. They're dark. They're black, like metal. What do the masks look like? We would call it a bird. It's a pointed beak. A large opening for the eyes, but the eyes are sunk in. And their eyes look dead. They're quick, bird-like. Their voices sound like a machine, not soft. And there's no melody when they speak. But you've never seen them without the masks? I can see beyond the masks. You have the ability to do that? Yes. Their flesh looks like leather. You said it was like machines, too. No, that's underneath this covering. But it's alive? Yes, but they don't have organs like we have. They don't need them. I'm afraid of them. I don't like them. I thought it sounded like some type of mechanical person or something computerized. Maybe a robot? It has intelligence. It has the ability to think and react to things. But it's fake. Something tells them how to answer and what to say. Then it's rather like a robot or a machine, isn't it? Yes, but more advanced. If they are angry, that means they can feel some type of emotion. Yes. And they don't want to be there. Well, how does ISIS feel about having them there? She says they're necessary, that we have to befriend them. There has to be peace. There wouldn't be peace if she didn't let them come? Yes, that's right. Maybe there's something they can learn. Kindness. Some of them get over that anger and they stay. They're learning to have feelings. They already know about the stars. They say they're from the Milky Way. We study their culture. Are there other people in this temple that are different? Yes, there are very large people. They wear white robes. They are bald and very tall, 7 feet tall. They don't speak very much. They don't have to. They can just tell you mentally what they want. They are studying the power points of this planet. They use them to generate energy. That's how they travel. Do they need a craft to do this? Sometimes, but then sometimes not. What about the dark ones? Do they use a craft? Yes, they have to have something. They don't know anything but machinery. Their craft is long and narrow, like a tube. Certain ways it turns, you can't even see it. It looks just like a flash of light. But the tall ones just appear. They don't like the machines. It sounds like this place has many unusual students, doesn't it? Yes, there are many different people. Some come from the earth. They are humans that are native to the earth, as I am. Are there more of the other ones than the natives of earth? No, she doesn't let those people come very much. Do you like being there? Oh yes, it's very peaceful. So many books. With all those different type of beings there, you could also learn about planets and stars by traveling, couldn't you? We're not allowed to leave. I was thinking that way you could get first-hand knowledge. Oh no, the dark ones want to take us, but they won't bring us back. They probably want the knowledge for their place. Yes. So you'd rather learn from the books? Yes. I study by myself a lot. That boat that you saw, do you know who those people are that are coming? They are pilgrims. They're from a long way away, from a very cold climate. They know of Isis. They want to see her for themselves. They have never come before. Sounded maybe like Vikings. Does that happen very often? No, there's a veil. You can't find the temple unless it's right. So the average traveler couldn't find this place. No, they would never see it. This is done for protection then. Yes. Do you think they want to study or just to see Isis? They want the knowledge. They want to take it away with them. Everybody wants to take it away, don't they? Yes, but they can't. She knows who to tell it to and who not to. I condensed time and moved it ahead to see if the visitors were able to meet Isis. They don't talk to her. She doesn't talk to them. Some people think there's nothing there. Some people see a statue, but I know that she's real. I'm surprised they can even find the temple if they weren't the right kind of people. They stumble on it sometimes. Could they see you and the rest of the people? No, it looks like a ruin to them. It is a form of protection. It will appear different to different people. They would want the power. They would misuse it. So they could walk through this temple where all of you are and not see any of you. Yes, sometimes they walk right over the knowledge that's been hidden there. It looks like broken columns and a dirt floor. So they'll go back and say there wasn't anything there. That is a good way to protect. Yes. What are you going to do with the knowledge you're learning? Teach children? They do not come here. I'll be sent out to teach. There are groups of people that I will be told to see. I then moved her out of that scene and instructed her to go forward to an important day. She surprised me when she leapfrogged. This is what I call it when the subject suddenly jumps into another unrelated lifetime. She came in on the day of her death. She found herself in the middle of a war as a male soldier in what appeared to be Greece or Rome. There was a lot of noise and yelling and metal banging.
So I'm going to stop there. And I just wanted to let you know that not everything you see on TV is real. Again, it's about the video I talked about yesterday. It's technology. And the Bible does have something right. They are two different types of people down here. I thought you might like to hear this. This was a hypnotherapy session by Dolores Cannon. I take her class.